Good Tuesday morning, my third and fourth graders. You guys will be working on day 2 today, actually. And it's going to be a fun day today. You get to learn about zebras, George Washington, some crazy racing in the mud, and we actually have a fiction story today, which I am super excited about because fiction and nonfiction can go really well together. So today we're going to actually be focusing on this story down here, the George Washington story. Just in our video, your assignment's a little bit different than that. So I'm going to flip to this story, and this is what it's going to start out like. It's going to be about George Washington, and many of you guys know that George Washington was our first president. But did you also know that he was an amazing military strategist? Okay, so he was part of the Revolutionary War, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Is I'm going to give you some background knowledge about the Revolutionary War, so that when you read Washington's Secrets Revealed, you'll have some understanding of who George Washington was. Now, I wanted to point out something for you guys over here, especially for parents. There are some amazing little tools over here that you can use for your different reading assignments. So please take a look at those. Everybody should be on the on level unless you have contacted me and I can talk to you about going to a lower level if you need to. But these are some fun facts about George Washington. So let's talk a little bit about the Revolutionary War. First thing that you need to know is that during the Revolutionary War, there were only 13 colonies in the United States. We've kind of talked about this a little bit in both third and fourth grade, but this is a little bit of a review. There were 13 colonies all the way from Georgia all the way up to New Hampshire. These colonies had about 2.7 million colonists, mostly from Europe and mostly from England, actually. And they came over to the United States looking for political freedom, religious freedom for various reasons. And there were quite a few people over here. Unfortunately, they were still subject to the King of England's decisions. So the King of England could make decisions and it would affect the colonies over here. Well, the King of England kind of got himself into trouble because he had fought a war with France. England is always fighting with France. I don't know why, but they do. They don't get along. And the King of England had fought a massively expensive war, and he decided that he needed more money, and he turned to his colonies to get that money. He actually started taxing the colonies a whole bunch of money, and it made people very, very upset. And this is one of the things that he did. He started to tax stamps. He started to tax clothing. He started to tax firearms, and anything that came from Britain he would tax. And one of the things that would always come from England was tea, and tea was drank a lot back then. It was actually safer to drink tea than water because you would boil the water to make tea, and in so doing you would actually kill all the germs. Now, they didn't know that, but that's actually the truth. So tea was really, really important to the colonists, and the king decided that he was going to tax it, and it was kind of the last straw. The colonists in the United States got very, very upset. The colonies got really upset, and they actually went into Boston Harbor, dressed up as Native Americans, climbed aboard the ship, and dumped all of the tea in the harbor of Boston Harbor. You can kind of see that there's the Native Americans. They dressed up as Native Americans and dumped all the tea into the harbor. That was one of the ways they protested. Some of the things they did, they protested. They sent what's his name? Oh my gosh, my brain just died. Ben Franklin. Oh my gosh. Okay, Ben Franklin. They sent him to England to try and talk to the king and listen to them and say, stop doing what you're doing. We're really, really unhappy. There was no representation in the government. There was no one to have a voice for the colonies. They sent Ben Franklin, and he was rejected by the king. So they decided at this point that there was no choice, that they had to become violent. And the first shots of the Revolutionary War were at Lexington and Concord, and they are known as the shots heard around the world. Now, the colonies did have a cool flag, which I'm going to show you. This is one of my fun flags. My father-in-law, if I can find it down here, there it is. My father-in-law is a historian. He actually has written books and done a whole bunch of research about history, and so history is really cool in our family. And this is one of the flags that he actually flies. He loves this flag, and I think it's a cool flag. You can see that it looks a lot like the flag we have today. It's got the 13 stripes on it, but it also only has 13 stars. If you can see that down there, and that's the flag of the colonies during the Revolutionary War. Alrighty, so the first shot was fired. The British were called redcoats, and this is a picture of what the British looked like. You can actually see the reason why they were called redcoats, because they wore red coats. Now, the British had always fought wars where you lined your military up in big lines and then you shot each other across a field. And it kind of was a little silly for a warfare, but that's the way they'd always done it. Well, the Americans didn't have all the guns and the armament that the British had, so the American colonists decided that they were going to institute what's called guerrilla warfare. They actually hid in trees and would shoot the soldiers. They would ambush them on the road, and these British soldiers didn't even know what to do. They'd never fought a war like this. But the colonists really wanted their freedom. They wanted their freedom from the King of England and to be able to make their own decisions. So it wasn't just Americans and it wasn't just British that got involved in this war. The French also got involved. The colonies turned to France because French loved getting cotton from these southern states down here. They would also get tobacco from here. Tobacco was a big deal, cotton and tobacco. And the French really wanted to keep that. And so they actually sent money and guns and troops to help the American colonists fight the Revolutionary War. Germans also came over and helped fight as well. And many of those people who came actually ended up staying. Some of them returned to their home countries, but a lot of them stayed. And so we became a multinational country almost from the very beginning. George Washington was the leader of the colonists' army. He was an amazing leader. He fought the battles. He was secretive. You'll read more about him in there, he passed secret notes, that he truly was an amazing soldier, an amazing tactician. And at the end of the war, they wanted him to become president of the United States. Now, George Washington, he could have just become another king. He could have just decided, I'm going to take all the power for myself. But he believed in freedom so much and in the colonists so much that he decided that he was going to be the president. He would be subject to the checks and balances of the Constitution of the United States. He would do what the colonists wanted him to do. And that is a sign of an amazing leader. That is something that I think today we need to be really aware of, that many millions of men and women have sacrificed their lives for freedom. And are we willing to fight for our freedoms as well? That's something that's happening today as we're being quarantined. We have to really be thinking about freedom, about making sure that people don't take too much power away from us. George Washington was one of those men who made sure that the people were taken care of before himself. So he's a pretty cool guy. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get started on your activity. Just look at the page today, the assignment page today, and make sure you're doing the activities. Email me if you have any questions. Make sure you're answering my riddle. If you want to, you can email me. I'm going to be giving a riddle every single day, and you guys are welcome to email me the answer so we can kind of stay in touch. Miss you guys. Hope you have a great Tuesday. Enjoy your day with your family. See you later.